So every once in a while I like to go through my movie collection and see if there's stuff that I want to get rid of or stuff that I haven't seen in a very long time, and this is one of those cases. This is a movie I saw a couple of times in middle school, so this was like early 2010s, but I have not watched it ever since, and so I figured, hey, might as well rewatch it and see how it fares up. The movie in question is Stuck on You, the movie where Matt Damon and Greg Kinnear play conjoined twins.
Well, what do we have here?
Hey, why don't you go over there and work some of your magic?
Stop it.
What? She's smiling at you.
Hi, how are you? If you're ever in town, you're not like in a bar. I'm sorry that came out wrong. It sounded like you're some kind of skank. I didn't mean like, I wasn't trying to say you're like a filthy little girl.
Time's up, Casanova. Can I join you for a drink?
Sure.
Bob and Walt have nothing in common.
In Martha's Vineyard, Massachusetts, conjoined twins Walt and Bob, played by Greg Kinnear and Matt Damon, make the best of their handicap by being the fastest grill cooks in town. While outgoing Walt hopes to one day become a famous actor, shy Bob prefers to stay out of the spotlight. When a fading Hollywood actress, Cher, played by Cher, decides to get her own show, Honey and the Bees, canceled, she hires Walt and his brotherly appendage as her co-stars. But their addition, surprisingly, achieves the opposite. I barely remember this movie, but when I saw the DVD cover after so many years, my immediate thought was, so was this them trying to do another Dumb and Dumber? Because that's really what it looks like. They really look like they tried to make these guys look like Harry and Lloyd from Dumb and Dumber. And while there are elements that are kind of like Dumb and Dumber, the movie takes itself a little bit more seriously than that movie did. So I talked a little bit about the Farrelly Brothers when I did my video on Hall Pass, and I said that after a while the Farrellys went from doing movies that seemed to be like huge comedy hits like Dumb and Dumber and even something like Kingpin, which is more underrated, but it's slowly developing more and more of a following, and Something About Mary, which helped catapult the whole R-rated raunch fest gross out comedy from the late 90s, early 2000s era. Me, Myself, and Irene, which I don't think is one of their best, but it has enough funny parts in it for me to recommend it to other people at least. They tried doing some other stuff with movies like Osmosis Jones, which I also haven't seen in a very long time, but I remember liking as a kid. So who knows, maybe if I rewatch that, maybe I would be a little bit more nostalgic for it, maybe a little bit kinder to it. But it was at least something different from them. You know, it was them trying to do a family movie. It was half live action, half animated. Then they tried doing a romantic comedy with Shallow Hal, which surprisingly a lot of people seem to say is one of their worst movies, and I can't help but disagree. I mean, considering these guys went on to make stuff like that was just utterly forgettable, like Hall Pass and the Three Stooges movie, which a lot of people seem to hate, and Dumb and Dumber 2, which I thought was wholly unnecessary, and the utter piece of fucking shit that is movie 43. It's like, clearly they can do a hell of a lot worse. I mean, let me put it to you this way. I'm the kind of person that generally doesn't like romantic comedies, and yet I actually enjoyed that movie for the most part. It's not perfect or anything, but I don't hate Shallow Hal. It's also saying something because, like the rest of the world, I can't stand Gwyneth Paltrow, but I actually thought she was relatively good in that movie. But then after Shallow Hal, they did this movie, and, well, I think it falls into the category of forgettable. It's not that it's necessarily a bad movie, and it wasn't as much of a Dumb and Dumber clone as I initially thought when I re-looked at the poster after all these years, but it definitely falls into the it's not one of their more memorable movies. I think I'd put it up there with Hall Pass in that it's not that it's god-awful, it's just that it's nothing special either. Because the entire time I was watching this movie, I was thinking this should be a more straightforward drama, because that's kind of what it felt like. Most of the comedy bits in the movie felt like they were specifically made for the trailer to try and make it look like a wacky, zany Farrelly Brothers comedy, but most of the movie felt like it was trying to be a more heart-wrenching, serious drama, character study type of movie. And it felt like those two things just didn't mesh well together. It felt like it should have been more in the tone of something like a Spanglish, or even something like a Be Kind Rewind, where it's like, you know, yeah, there's comedic parts to it, but it's more of a character study following these oddball characters and showing their struggles and their lives. Because that's what the movie felt like it was trying to do, but it felt like it just couldn't decide what it wanted to be. But what actually happens in the movie? Well, we have conjoined twins, Bob and Walt. They're from Massachusetts, and, well, they both have a good thing going for them. You have it that they own their own restaurant, the Quickie Burger, and very early on they show they're both very caring brothers, and they both look out for not just themselves, but the people in their lives, because they have a busboy who's mentally challenged, and when a couple start harassing him, then they stick up for him.
Oh, you idiot! Those are my good pants!
Oh, those are her good pants.
Look, I'm sure the two of you think it's very progressive to hire Jerry's kids, but in the future, you should keep the freaks in the back, washing dishes, away from the paying customers.
So, Rocket, you see that door over there? Would you kindly escort this freak through it?
No problem. Right this way, please.
And that's one of the things I can give the Farrelly Brothers movies credit for, is that it feels like they're actually coming from a place of sincerity. I mean, in the good ones anyway. In the really bad ones, it feels really forced and like, oh yeah, but there's a heart to it at the end. This movie, on the other hand, I actually believed a lot of the sentimentality that was going on. It never really felt like it was crowbarred in or forced to try and make the movie seem like it was sweeter than it was. They have their own restaurant. They have plenty of hobbies to keep them busy. They do various sports and physical activity. They both seem to genuinely care about one another and look out for each other's interests. Like, for example, Greg Kinnear's character wants to be an actor, and he does various stage plays. And they even find a way around their little handicap, because they usually have Matt Damon either wear all black and have him just like blend into the black curtains behind them, or they have him go behind props like plants and stuff like that. And everybody in town seems to genuinely love them and care for them. But Greg Kinnear suggests that they go out to Hollywood because he wants to become an actor, and also because Matt Damon has a pen pal, this girl that he's been talking to for 3 years, and he wants Matt Damon to eventually meet her and hopefully go somewhere with their relationship. And he's a little reluctant at first, but eventually Matt Damon caves and they say, all right, we're going to LA for 3 months, see how this works, and if it doesn't work out, we'll just come back.
3 months. We go out there, we give it a try, we see how it works out. If it doesn't, we come home, but at least I'll be happy because I know that we tried.
So they go out to LA, and this is where I thought the movie was going to lean more into the whole fish out of water humor, and it really doesn't. Again, it feels like this was a bit they specifically did for the trailer, where, you know, they're walking down, you know, Hollywood Boulevard, and a car drives by and somebody calls them freaks, and Greg Kinnear's only reaction is just, yo!
Hey, freaks! Yo!
And that's it. There's not really a whole lot of people looking at them and going, ah, what a bunch of weirdos. I'll give this movie this. This movie is nowhere as shocking as something like Under the Rainbow, which I also talked about. That movie was just horribly mean-spirited, and the whole joke of the movie was little people look different. So if there's anything to this movie, it's that everyone's pretty accepting of them being conjoined twins. And even when there's some conflict, it's never super in your face. And it never feels like the movie is like actively going, oh yeah, they're weird, aren't they? They end up getting an apartment, and at first it seems like it's going to be difficult because they try looking for gigs and nobody will take them because they're conjoined twins. But they end up getting hooked up with this elderly agent guy who's kind of a sleaze bucket named Morty O'Reilly. And they're told about this guy through one of the people they end up befriending out there, played by Eva Mendes, who, first of all, I'll give this movie credit, at least she's better in this than she was in Ghost Rider. I think that goes without saying. But secondly, if you ever wanted a movie to remind you that Eva Mendes is hot...
Our first California sunburn.
We're official.
You guys are gonna love it here at the Star. I've been here like 2.5 years, and hey, you guys are stuck together, and I still love it here. We're like one big happy family.
So they go to this Morty guy, and you know, he gives them the whole racket of like, oh, well, I want 25% of your earnings, and you get 75%.
Siamese twins ain't the easiest sell I've ever had.
We're not Siamese. We're American.
Because they established very early on that Matt Damon's character, Bob, doesn't want to be an actor, so he just kind of tags along because they're conjoined. There's no real way around it. And, well, he ends up getting them a gig, but it turns out that it's for a porn.
That's it, Phil. You spring to life now. Good. Excellent. A little more. Give me some more. I want some more. Nice. Okay, freeze. Phil, you disappear now. The freaks are gonna jump in and we discover the whole scene's a horrible nightmare.
And that was one of the few things I did chuckle at because Greg Kinnear's like, well, hey, maybe he didn't know. And then Matt Damon's character says, like, he's producing it.
I knew I shouldn't have trusted that bastard Morty.
Well, maybe he didn't know what the movie was about. Walt, he was the executive producer.
So I did kind of laugh at that. But here's where the movie just kind of goes off the rails. And it was at that point I was like, okay, where is this movie going? Because then the plot just kind of just goes all over the place from there. They come across Cher as herself, and she wants to be in actual movies, but her agent gets her signed up to be on this, like, CSI type show called Honey and the Bees. And the movie did make it look like the kind of crap that they would be airing on Fox in the early 2000s. It looked like one of those kind of shows.
Just who the hell do you think you are barging in here like this?
I figured I had a right. According to this cocktail napkin, I'm half owner of this law firm.
But the reason Cher hires them is because she thinks that'll be enough to sink the show. Because she's like, oh, the studio will never go for this. And they even have a scene where some studio higher-ups are like, well, what are we going to do with this? Is there any way around this?
What are we looking for in the back end?
You mean the brother? Bob doesn't really act. How about $50 a week in his own dressing room?
But lo and behold, the show ends up taking off. Everyone says that Greg Kinnear's character is like the best part of the show, and they don't like Cher.
Newcomer, Walt Tinner's inspired turn as cocky but sensitive biochemist Mac Beasley more than compensates for a lackluster perf by Cher.
It is funny because when they introduce Cher in the movie, she has this whole thing about how she was in like this indie movie that, you know, made a shit ton of money, and that's obviously Mask. And she says that she wants to be in better things.
Why am I doing this lame-ass TV show when I should be doing movies?
And when that got brought up, I couldn't help but think, yeah, little did she know that such winners as a Zookeeper and Bobbleheads the movie were in the cards for her.
Aw, shit, it's just Cher.
I'm sorry, I should have specified. They're looking for Walt. Have you seen him?
Hey, lady, can you go get the bees for us?
We want bees! So that's part of the plot. This whole Greg Kinnear being a part of this TV show, and despite the fact that, you know, he's a conjoined twin, that's part of it. And one thing I was thinking about was like, well, shit, in the early 2000s, like, they had morph suits, they had green screen technology. Like, clearly there must have been a way to get Matt Damon out of there, and sure enough, they bring that up in the movie.
With chroma key, the camera picks up every color except for blue. So, Bob, you see, to the audience at home, you don't exist.
Hey, Bob, put your mask down. Check it out.
Wow. But Cher pushes against it, and she tries to guise it as, oh, no, Bob should be a part of the show as well. You can't just edit him out. That would be wrong. But it's obvious she has ulterior motives. She wants the show to tank. But unfortunately for her, the show just goes fucking skyrocketing because everybody loves it. Even after all that comes out, you know, at first they're worried about the tabloids ripping them apart, but Eva Mendes suggests, like, no, lean into it. Don't deny it, embrace it. And there's a part where they go on Jay Leno, and, you know, obviously the crowd loves them and pretty much embraces them with open arms.
I'm told that you were all-state hockey. You were. Oh, okay, you were great all-state hockey.
Well, I mean, Walt was honorable mention.
Come on, okay.
But while all of that's going on, you also have the stuff with Matt Damon and his girlfriend, and she looked familiar, and I was like, wait, I recognize her from something. And sure enough, she had a part in Hall Pass. So that's what I recognized her from. But anyway, yeah, it turns out this is where the movie starts to also feel a bit cliche.
The pictures. What about the pictures, Bob?
I cut you out of them.
Oh, that's great. That is really, really great.
Matt Damon never told her that he has a conjoined twin. So the entire time they're trying to work around that, and it's like, oh, my brother's just very clingy, and he wanted to join us on our first date together in person. And you know, they do end up kissing on the first date, so you know, apparently she wasn't that weirded out by it. And then there's a part later when they go on a double date to this club.
Hi, May.
Walt, what happened to your foot?
I fell off my unicycle.
And then also in this scene when they're at the club, they come across this coworker guy of Matt Damon's love interest, May, and Funny enough, I recognized him too. He's played by Kevin James's brother, who often shows up in a lot of like Happy Madison movies. And I think he had a role on King of Queens.
He hacked into my computer at work and read my mail.
Yeah, well, don't be pissed there, lover boy, okay? I think I had a right to check up on my girl.
I am not your girl.
When you sucked down a 6-pack of beer with me and said how much you cared for me. What is that? What was that?
And while the girls are in the bathroom together, they end up fighting this guy and some of his friends because he discovers that they're conjoined twins, but they take on the whole fucking club and win. But then when the girls come back, they're like, oh, we gotta get out of here. Oh, these guys, they had some bad sushi. I don't trust this place.
Oh, come on.
What's going on?
We're getting out of here.
What's happened to these guys?
Bad sushi.
And there's a bunch of that like sitcom kind of humor where it's like he has to hide from this girl that he has a conjoined twin. There's a part where he's laying in bed and Greg Kinnear has to dress up in this giant teddy bear outfit because he's like, oh yeah, I'm sick, and my brother, he's been taking care of me. Oh, he got me this big stuffed teddy bear. And then there's a part after she leaves where Greg Kinnear is talking in the bear suit about not wanting to do something that makes him look like an idiot.
I don't want to be one of those actors who takes a role and ends up looking like an ass.
This is like some 2.5 Men shit going on. What the hell? But she ends up finding out about this. She finds them in the same bed together, and at first she thinks that they're gay, but then she actually sees the thing at the hip that's connecting them, and then she speeds off terrified. And she is just gone for a long stretch of the movie, and then she comes back and she says, I feel horrible about what I did. I feel terrible about my reaction. I just didn't know. And Matt Damon says, no, it's my fault. I didn't tell you.
I'm ashamed of myself. The way I reacted.
No, come on, it's not. It was my fault. I mean, I really could have sprung this on you a little better.
This felt like this could have been the whole movie. This felt like this could have been the main plot. It really feels like they should have had her, like, naturally realize that what she did was wrong, maybe more exploration, because it really feels like that whole subplot of her, taking off after she finds out that they're conjoined twins just kind of disappears from the movie. And then when she comes back, it's like, oh, I guess she's back in the plot now. All right. But they also had this plot of Greg Kinnear wanting to be an actor and all the stuff with Cher, which, by the way, every time this movie gets a chance to talk about how great Cher is, they go for it.
I'm sorry. I'm a big fan. Big fan of your work, and I'm an actor too.
I wonder two things about that. One, I wonder if Cher was the first person they picked. Like, out of all the people they could have gone with, why'd they pick Cher? Like, was it because she wasn't doing a whole lot at the time or something? But more importantly, I wonder if Cher agreed to do this movie as long as they kissed her ass every scene. Because so many parts of the movie, they just talk about how awesome she is. And it rides that line of like, is this self-aware or is this just like, Hollywood actors like, oh, I'm going to play myself, but you have to talk about how awesome I am in every scene I'm in. The amount of Pepsi product placement, because sometimes it's not even fucking subtle. Like, at the beginning of the movie, they're working at this restaurant, and it's like, oh, we got 4 Pepsis and 2 Mountain Dews or whatever. It was a Pepsi product, of course.
And we have 6 fries, 4 Pepsi, and 2 7-Up.
But then later on in the movie, there's like so many parts where it's like, oh, look, it's the Pepsi logo. They're at like a Jack in the Box and they order some Pepsis. And then there's a part where they're outside of a convenience store, Pepsi sign. But this one's my all-time favorite. There's a part where they're on the set for the show, and Cher has an assistant come over and give her a drink, and the Pepsi bottle is fucking placed right in the middle of the screen so that you could see it, and she just takes a sip from it.
It might not be such a bad idea.
It's a terrible idea. The network has made it very clear.
My God, the amount of Pepsi product placement in this movie, it got really distracting after a while. Not like Mac and Me or Happy Madison level distracting, but distracting nonetheless. But going back to what I was saying earlier, it really felt like the romantic subplot with Matt Damon and his girlfriend and the whole thing with Greg Kinnear and the TV show and all that, it felt like these were 2 different ideas they had for the movie, but they didn't know how to flesh either of these concepts out, so they just kind of awkwardly, for lack of a better term, stuck them together. Greg Kinnear starts pushing Matt Damon to get this surgery because they established early on that they thought about having a surgery, or at least Greg Kinnear thought about it, but Matt Damon didn't want to. But when they went to a doctor, they said that their liver is in the thing that's holding them together, and so if they tried doing that, Matt Damon would get most of the liver and Greg Kinnear wouldn't, and that would result in him dying. So you know later on in the movie when push comes to shove, that's going to be addressed.
The doctors at Mass General told us they could split us up at no risk to Bob, but there's a 50-50 chance that I wouldn't make it.
Oh, no. I wanted to do it. Bob wouldn't allow it.
Greg Kinnear decides he wants to get separated because he wants Matt Damon and his girlfriend to be happy and together, but it seems like they never will truly have that if they're conjoined. So he keeps pushing him, but Matt Damon's like, no, I want you to be happy. And Greg Kinnear is like, well, I want you to be happy. So then Greg Kinnear just goes balls out. He starts drinking a lot. He starts smoking. They end up getting arrested because this is when it starts to become like a typical Farrelly movie where it just goes really fucking wacky. Where, like, Greg Kinnear needs Matt Damon to drive because he's so drunk, and then they try flirting with some girls in the car next to them, and they get maced, and then they speed off past a red light, and then they accidentally steal an old lady's purse, and then they get pulled over by the cops.
You've been charged with a DUI.
What? I didn't even drink anything.
Well, Hotshot blew a .20. Divide that by 2 and you're both legally drunk.
And since you were driving, let's go.
They lock them in a cell, but like they have it that Matt Damon's in the cell while Greg Kinnear is on the opposite side, not in the cell with him. And, I thought this was rich. One of the cops is played by, forget this dude's full name, but Dante from all the Happy Madison movies. The guy that always has to have a fucking weird accent. He's one of those Happy Madison regulars where you recognize his face, but you don't know his name. He was one of the cops in the scene.
Seriously, Walt, visiting hours are over in 10 minutes. Let's wrap it up.
And what's also really funny is throughout the movie, there are a bunch of Farrelly Brothers regulars throughout this thing. Like, Lynn Shay shows up.
Bill Rupp, Lala Gager, Mariana Trench, and Rebecca Romaine Stamos.
And there's this guy who's the doctor later on when they inevitably decide to go through with the surgery. He's in a bunch of them as well.
Dr. Carson, good news. We found Bob and Walt. Someone took them upstairs.
Oh, fantastic. Once they're released, they get into a bit of a scuffle with each other, and they decide, okay, we'll go through with the surgery. And because the movie is, supposed to be a comedy, it ends with both of them living. And that's the thing where it was like, if this was a drama, because dramas typically have sad endings, they would have had it that one of them ended up dying. But again, because the movie's a comedy, they didn't go through with that. They're both perfectly fine. And because it's a quirky comedy, you have scenes where they're trying to walk for the first time, but they kind of like shuffle to the side because they're so used to walking side by side. Eventually, Matt Damon decides he's gonna move him and his girlfriend back to Massachusetts, and he's gonna continue living there. Because he tells Greg Kinnear when they're driving at one point that, oh, I'm just a burger flipper from Massachusetts. And he encourages Greg Kinnear to stay in Hollywood and continue acting. But despite Greg Kinnear being a hotshot actor at this point, he still can't do it without his brother. Like, there's parts where he tries to do fight scenes, but he can't do it because he always would fight with his brother right by his side. The show ends up getting canceled, and this results in one of the scenes where Greg Kinnear is talking with Cher at a restaurant, and they just continue to talk about how awesome she is. But she still tries to be humble and is like, no, I was such a bitch to you guys. Like,
you could win like a humanitarian award for the things you did for me.
Are you crazy, Walt? I didn't even. Wait, is there talk of me getting one?
No.
Seriously, this movie does to Cher what Thunderstruck did to Kevin Durant. Every scene they took to talk about how awesome she is, they just took it. And it's like, you know what? Good for her, but at the same time, the movie itself is like, it's nothing to really write home about. But this would definitely not fly nowadays. There's a joke in there about her dating a fellow celebrity who's a little bit on the younger side, and then you see who it is. She's dating Frankie Muniz from Malcolm in the Middle.
What? Go to sleep, you got a geography test tomorrow.
And Matt Damon struggles once he moves back to Massachusetts. Like, he can't make burgers as quick as he used to. And Greg Kinnear inevitably decides to move back to Massachusetts. Oh, and I forgot to mention, there's a part fairly early on when they first get to LA, they actually meet Meryl Streep as herself, which makes me wonder, like, could they not get Meryl Streep to be in the whole movie? So instead they have to go with Cher. It's like Meryl Streep was like, look, I'll be in your movie for 2 scenes and that's it. But they interact with her, and at first she doesn't recognize them, but then she's like, oh wait, yeah, you were those guys at that football game.
That was you!
Yeah, he actually is the one who scored the winning touchdown.
Well, you threw him a hell of a block.
And then after that, there's a scene where Greg Kinnear is talking with Eva Mendes on the beach, and it's like, oh yeah, she's really cool. She's very down to earth. Oh yeah, like she gave us her number. She said that she'd like to work with us at some point. So at the end of the movie, it jumps forward to a year later. You know, they're back to running the restaurant and making burgers together by each other's side. And Greg Kinnear is now acting, doing his own stage plays, you know, not having to worry about his brother by his side. Yeah. And so he does this musical rendition of Bonnie and Clyde with Meryl Streep.
Something. All right, I got an idea. Just go with me.
And this basically just becomes like a whole like short film in and of itself, because like there's this whole stage play, and they do show a couple of people in the audience from all throughout the movie. Like Cher is there, that Morty agent guy is there. There's a couple of other characters that have been throughout the movie who are there seeing their stage play. And then the movie just kind of ends. As a movie, I think this is better than Hall Pass, because Hall Pass was just more of a typical comedy, especially from like 2011. It definitely fell into that kind of forgettable 2011 comedy category. This movie, I feel like if it leaned into being more of a drama, it would have been a better movie. But as it stands, it's not that it's bad, but it's just one of the more forgettable Farrelly movies. I mean, it's not as memorable as something like Something About Mary or Dumb and Dumber or even Kingpin. But I was never angry. I was just sitting there the whole time like, well, I'm not really laughing a whole lot, but I wasn't sitting there going like, oh man, this movie sucks. Oh God, I hate this. It is one of those Farrelly Brothers movies where, you know, it has a wacky premise, but it has a heart at the end of the day. And one thing that was surprising was, well, it's a PG-13 movie, and unlike a lot of Farrelly Brothers movies, there's not a lot of bodily fluid jokes. There's no shit jokes. There's no vomiting. Nobody puts semen in their hair or anything like that. Even if you're not a fan of Something About Mary, you at least remember those scenes. You remember Ben Stiller getting his dick stuck in the zipper, or Cameron Diaz putting bunk in her hair. But in this movie, there wasn't really anything like that. There was never a part that was like super outrageous. I mean, I guess the bar fight scene, but even then it was just like, oh, it was pretty tame by Farrelly Brothers standards. Or even if it wanted to be more of a dramedy, they should have played up the more dramatic elements. They should have leaned more into the romance between Matt Damon and his girlfriend, or how serious this procedure of these conjoined twins getting separated would be. Or maybe explore more of them being separated for the first time and having to, you know, not lean on each other so much. It feels like it could have went in many more straightforward directions, but it felt like they had a million ideas for a movie, couldn't really land on one, and just went, okay, yeah, just put it all together. But otherwise, I think it just comes out to being a movie that's well-intentioned, but not particularly funny. I mean, like, I chuckled here and there, but there are certainly funnier Farrelly movies out there. I mean, even Hall Pass, I think the more it went on, it got a little bit funnier, the more it leaned into how wacky it was. This, on the other hand, I was just thinking like, all right, I'm not really laughing a whole lot. I just kind of wanted the movie to take itself a little bit more seriously. But, I mean, if it seems like I'm saying this movie sucks, I'm not really saying that. I'm just saying, it's not one of the Farrelly's best, but it's certainly not one of their worst. It just kind of falls square in the middle. Honestly, I'm probably going to like this movie a lot more than what we're talking about next time, because next video, I'm going to talk about the 2010 Sorcerer's Apprentice movie, starring Nicolas Cage and Jay Baruchel. Yeah, before the current wave of let's take old animated classics and turn them live action, back then, what they would do is they would take small animated segments and try to turn them into full movies. So, yeah, that'll be fun. Let's see how that fares up. But that's until then. Until next time, I'm Adam Sykes of the Blockbuster Show, and we will see you guys in the next video.
What's a 4-letter word for snatch?
Grab.
Oh. Oopsie.